You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 113. I'm your boy Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Today's guest is the founder and owner of Hyyer Co. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure we'll all be inspired by his story. Let's chop it up with David Turner. Dave, how's it going, man?
Doing well. How about yourself? Doing well.
Glad to hear that. All is well on my end, too. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
For sure. I appreciate you hitting me up. It was random, but it just shows that I'm doing something and then somebody's watching, and then I've seen your post come up too. So, it was a matter of time. So I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. No doubt. Of course, here to talk about Hyyer Company and all the great things you got going on with the business. But before we talk business, let's get to know the man behind the brand. So I read that you're from the Gump. What was your upbringing like coming up in the city?
Okay, so just a small background. My parents were military. So I was born in 91 in North Dakota. It was crazy. But we left Charleston, South Carolina in 98. I was 6 and got here August of 98, right before school started. I went to Ware's Ferry Elementary for that first year. But growing up in the city was I think it was a little different for me because a lot of my friends, they didn't have, well, some of my friends did, but a lot of them didn't live like how my folks did because, they had the military. Even though my parents grew up, my dad is from Greenwood, Mississippi. My mom from Sumter, South Carolina. So it's small country / hood towns, but they did the military thing with Uncle Sam to, better their lives. But it was pretty cool in the city for me. I felt like I went to Macmillan as well, where when it was on the west side, not where it is now, like where this is for the real Gumptown people, across the street from where Riverside Homes used to be. But yeah, exactly. But I feel like the city grew me pretty well. I had a lot of raising as far as like my parents, but the city gave me a lot of jewels that I still use to the day when I'm away or I'm just on a cautious tip. But I feel like my upbringing was pretty good. My best friends, I've met them. I was thinking about this yesterday. I met both of them, my closest friends. I met both of them at the age of 10, roughly in the same area, like on the east side of Montgomery. I'm from the more so like the Ware's Ferry side, like the Ware's Ferry, like close to Delrata and like Pike Road. I went to Georgia, Washington and stuff like that. But the city did well. Even though it's kind of crazy out here, it did well.
That's amazing, man. Appreciate you sharing a little bit of your background, and salute to your parents for the military, serving in the military. You got a chance to grow up. Well, you were born in North Dakota and ended up in the Gump, did your schooling here. And so you finished up high school, and I read also where you went on to attend Troy University. What was the college life experience like for you?
Uh, College life had a lot of fraternal love and uplift. But it was a real eye opener for me. I would say I tell people often I had the from Disney to Tarantino movie life. Like things was a fantasy, then things just got real gory and real. You know, I just get quick and personal. It's not no secret or nothing like that. But my folks they pretty much separated the day I graduated high school. So going through college with some of that was a lot of like what I had to deal with and dealt with in my late 20s. But as far as Troy University, I was just telling somebody the other day I should have applied to other places, but that was the best place for me. Like I said, I went to Macmillan, and that was like a school for, they send all of the officers' kids to that school mostly because the teachers and all of that, they speak different languages and they just groom it for that. So being at Troy has 63 universities across the globe. So, and my sophomore year, it was me in the dorm. It was a white Catholic guy, one of my G, he just got married. A guy from Tunisia and a guy from a country I still can't pronounce properly to this day. but just the diversity of the different kind of people. Even though I was mostly around people that look like us, I still would delve into different parties or just different things, different activities that what I was trying to, expand the resume and things of that nature. But I think my higher self was trying to expand like just my perspective on things, having different conversations with people that might be from a different place or things that I might have judged, but then if I see it from a different perspective, I can't judge it as much anymore. I have to, use a different scale than what I use what I would have used. So I feel like Troy was great. And then like I said, I pledged Alpha. I said that to you off camera, but I pledged Alpha, and the brothers helped raise me in a lot of ways because I didn't only just pledge, I was a dean as well, so I got a lot of leadership skills just from leading the young guys through. And I think I see I was like, man, am I really doing a good job as being a dean? I'm like, I'm 22. One of the guys was like 29. But as I look at IG now, just from seeing them, and then I have conversations, we just had homecoming. Like some of the guys are fathers now, you know what I'm saying? They're having good careers and they're doing well. And I'm like, okay, you don't really see the outcome immediately after they probate or anything like that. You see it years later. So I'm like, okay, I did well. So Troy was great. It was in the country, one Walmart, but it was great.
No doubt, man. Much respect to Detroit University, man. That
For
Xi Beta
sure.
chapter that you were initiated into while you were down there.
Oh
So
yeah.
college for you, you got a chance to build some relationships with people all over. And that's the dope thing about college, man. You get a chance to meet people from East Coast, West Coast, down South, and we all just come together and create those lifelong memories, man. And you just not only do you get a chance to, of course, graduate and get your degree as the ultimate goal, but just becoming more enlightened, being around people with different perspectives, different mindsets, it
Right.
really helps shape and mold you into you go to college a boy and you come out a man. Like at least that was my experience, and I'm sure your experience was the
Precisely.
same way. And not only that, the relationships, you get a chance, like you said, to your point, being in a leadership role, being able to properly lead, because leadership is more than just a word. It's more than just a title. It's what you do. It's about
Right.
leading by example. So that's great that Troy University provided just all those different avenues of development for you as a man. And you ended up getting your degree in sports management, minoring
Mm.
in business administration. So what's very intriguing is about current what you do currently. Like you're in the yoga space. But you know what? I
Yeah.
won't speak for you. Let's talk more about Hyyer Company. What exactly do you got going on at Hyyer Company?
Okay. Hyyer Co. Well, I started the LLC. The LLC is officially called Trail Theory Fitness. That's what the state is noticed by. I do business as Hyyer Co. Um, well, when I started Trail Theory Fitness, I was in Hoover, and I was just simply trying to personal train people that I knew, my sister's friends. I was also trying to get money and try to make some extra money because I just got out of school. I'm trying to literally figure everything out all in one. And I knew, but from like watching certain, I guess they could be called podcasts, but I was just saying like I was on heavy on YouTube University, being heavy, and I was watching a lot of Evan Carmichael videos because he docs up a lot of videos of celebrities or leaders, scientists, and different things of that nature. Patrick Bet David, Les Miles, listening to the things that those guys were saying as far as about having value and then creating value for others. And I was like, okay, what can I do? And I just was thinking, sitting in a room probably, and I was just like, okay, well, you've been looking like how you look for a long time. You have a degree in sports fitness management. You can probably just, as I had a job and different jobs in the field, I was like, okay, well, I got to do something else because all these, and it's another thing. I see a lot of things on social media, like the good positive memes. I try to take heed to some of them. And I'm like, all right, well, if I do this, well, maybe let's see. So let's see if I, create value, or if I duck off for a few months and come back and then be better. Let's see if that really happens. But I started off personal training, went through a lot of different life things. I got accepted into law school. I was in it for a few years, for a few weeks, actually 3 weeks. I'll be honest. 3 weeks I was in it, but something was wrong. I heard something that the one of the professors said, and I'll just sum it up. And he said something to the effect of, or what I heard and interpreted, in which what was happening. You can be right even if you're wrong. You just have to display the story or the case to the judge or the jury in a way that that's feasible to them, and they'll go with your side. And me, morally, that wasn't it. So I moved back to Montgomery from Birmingham on a serious, like, moved back to with my dad. We had our own issues prior, but we've since mended it and still growing better strong. Shout out to my pops. And now with the yoga, I got into yoga right after I got out of school, but doing the yoga, I switched from doing personal training to yoga because I wanted to get and tap in deeper into what people really need. Yeah, people need to work out and be fit, but especially our people, we have to I mean like melanated or
Mhm.
black. I don't say black, but we have to have we have to have way more peace and meditate. We have to be way more calm. We have a lot of stresses around us that are some. I don't like to play victim either, but some things aren't pressed upon us. But when things are happening, you have to be able to remain calm as much as possible. And they have a lot of sayings that I like that I still use. I'll say, bend, don't break. And being able to do yoga, you're more durable. I still lift weights. I've been lifting since 14. So now that I'm doing the yoga, uh, some people a lot of people are scared to do it because I don't know exactly. I try to still get it to this day, but I've been more so leaning towards doing the corporate and just setting up different retreats possibly. And that the corporate thing has been working way better than just like having individuals in the city. I know that I think my prices are the way they are because my certification was, it was what it was. It was higher. I had to learn a whole different language, like what Sanskrit's like one of the oldest languages that still spoken to this day. So I had to learn this, and that. But I knew that if I was the person, and I used to work with kids, so let me just break down why I do the yoga now. I feel like, okay, if I look like this and I do yoga, and I'm a farmer as well, but if I do yoga and people, they're not going to run away from it as much, or they're going to ask questions to me rather than the person that they would usually see doing or teaching yoga, because I look like your cousin, or I look like I could have been a lost Migo or something. But I do certain things, like I have my locks out of there, or I have my jewelry. But when we start talking, that's when I start getting into people. I like doing the physical poses, but I really want to tap into people, and I usually try to get them to start meditating more. So higher is for the upliftment of your physical, mental, and spiritual. And now things are starting to pick up because I've been cleaning up on my act as far as all of my business, as far as farming and yoga. But I like I like I like to see that higher is going to be way more, I wouldn't say corporate, but leaning towards doing small groups and corporate groups, and kids too, kids yoga, because I love working with kids and getting them into doing.
Man, that's powerful, man. Even hearing your story about how you pivoted out of law school and now, that took a lot of courage, a lot of audacity
Brother,
because
I'm telling you.
getting into law school isn't an easy feat. I never attempted because I never wanted to be a lawyer, but the fact that you got in was dope. And the fact that you realized once you got in that the things that were said didn't align with your moral compass. So you
Right.
say, hey, I need to, I don't need to be doing this as a career. And like I said, that just takes a lot of courage. A lot of people wouldn't have been willing to walk away from that because
And
just
the
the
only reason,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no, you could. No, you said the only reason what?
I was going to say the only reason I was really going to law school is because I'll give the people a lesson. Here's my first lesson, number one. Do what your heart feel. Don't listen to what anybody else says, regardless if they have several degrees and they have the greatest advice. I was listening to my advisor and two English teachers that I had at Troy. I did really. I'm a great writer. I could say that. My mother was an English major. That's what she got her degree in. And we couldn't do like none of the plan with the English in the house, just playing. We couldn't do none of that. But they were saying my writing was well, but my advisor was like, if you're trying to be a sports agent, you want to go ahead and go to law school because you're gonna have to learn contracts, this, and that. And I was like, okay, I'll take your advice because you haven't steered me wrong too far. And that was just not a, it just wasn't the best idea. But I did learn in them little 3 weeks. And, but like you just said, I learned way more about me because lawyers don't make that much initially. And well, one, they're in school, they're gonna be gonna be broke unless you got some stuff already going.
Right.
And I didn't have anything going and I couldn't afford it. But but now that I look back and in hindsight, I did the greatest thing I probably could. I'm able to grow food and teach people how to grow food. And I'm also able to lead classes. Like I often tell people, this is probably a weird, funny thing, but I tell people, I'm like, I'm the only person that you probably know can get a group of black women to do exactly what I say when I say. It's like, how? All right, everybody get your mats, come to the top, and people start moving. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, for sure, man. That's dope. And like you said, to your point, you should always follow your heart. And
Right.
also, your advisor was telling you that with good intentions, but from a
Right.
limited, but from that advisor's perspective, maybe that was the way you had to do it back in the 80s and the 90s. But now with the
Exactly.
internet, we got YouTube University. So if I want to learn
You
about
know?
contracts, I can I can leverage the internet. I can I'm pretty sure there because of the internet, because people realize people have a knack for information. I'm sure there's a Udemy course about contracts. I'm sure
Right.
there are workshops of people talking about
And
these
you got to
things.
think about Rich Paul now, like
Right.
LeBron's homeboy, like Rich. I think he might have graduated high school. I don't think
That's
Rich went
it.
to college. And
Yeah.
he's a successful businessman, not just a sports agent. So you exactly right about that.
Yeah, for sure. And no, that's amazing that you were able to make that decision and pivot out of that situation into what you're doing now. And also,
Mm.
you made mention about just in terms of going from personal training into yoga. I like the fact that you did that because I'm not gonna say it's uncharted territory, but it's a lane that's kind of open because
Yeah,
everyone's a lot of people doing personal training, and I'm not knocking anyone who does personal training, but for you to step into yoga, and to your point about us needing healing and stress
mm,
relieving and things of that nature, man, yoga is cool, man. I've done yoga a few times, just following along on YouTube University, and like just how you
yeah,
got your how you got your different turns, your different stretches, your upward dog, downward dog, like that stuff. It really works not only physically, but it does a lot for your mental, man. It's just a stress reliever. So that's dope that you are in that lane.
exactly. And I knew we needed that heavy, especially with everybody is like, I try not to use my phone as much as I can. So we're heavy on our phones, whether that be social media or whatever app. So we're constantly bombarded with not just the notifications, but even just like the frequencies that your phone give off or the TV and things of that. So the like one of the biggest things, the first book I picked up on yoga for athletes. I was reading one of the chapters, and it was on a chapter on breathing, breath work. Pranayama is what they call it in yoga, energy movement. And I'm reading it, and as I'm reading halfway through this chapter, I close the book and I stop and pause and look up at the sky, like, man, I hadn't even been breathing how I was supposed to be breathing. Like we have short, shallow breaths a lot of time. And if you have short, shallow breaths, you're not able to think, or your anxiety can be built up faster if something were to come up, like a situation that's sudden or news comes to you that's bad. You can react in a way that's not ideal. But when I started deepening my meditation practice and my breath work, I became more aware of my thoughts, more aware of how my body felt as I was eating certain things as well. I've changed my diet a few times.
Vital,
And
man.
it's got me really closer to God as well, because as I've been able to take the time to slowly stretch my body, to slowly breathe, and to truly sit down and meditate, God been talking to me, and I've been able to listen, and things have been, even though have things out in life that aren't ideal, but things have been way better than they would have if I hadn't been doing yoga, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And even that portion just you talking about getting tapped in with God on another level. I used to hear people talk about those things years ago, and I thought because of our culture and what's been instilled
Hmm.
in us, I thought, that's some weird stuff. Like I would never
Yeah.
be into that. But I'm being transparent with you, Dave. Like nowadays, I practice, and I'm sure you've heard of grounding. I ground
Hmm.
every day, and I start my day with that, and no phone in hand. I leave the phone on the back porch and I go out in the grass for about 15, 20
Nice.
minutes. And I just, yeah, because like you said earlier, the phone, the frequencies, that stuff real, man. Like
Facts.
grounding with your phone is kind of defeating the purpose. So
Exactly.
so I ground and I meditate and I walk around the backyard and I just feel a sense of God just present. And it's not weird. Like
Connectedness.
it's the truth, man. Like they want us on these phones. They want us in the inside. They don't want us outside getting the real vitamin D, getting tapped in. So I think it's
Right.
dope that you're doing that, man. Like you change the diet up. So are you classify yourself as a vegan or a pescatarian or what's your eating style?
Uh, I would say plant-based slash vegan. I changed. I stopped eating pork and beef March of 2016, and I did like poultry and seafood for like a year and a half. And then I had in 2017, I was having a conversation with someone, and they were like, "You think you'll ever stop eating meat?" I was like, "Man, I probably won't do that till 50." And as soon as I said that, a little voice said, "Do it now." Was like, okay. And then like the day later, I saw a store. Somebody that's a good thing about Instagram. You got to follow the right people.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a girl that I was following. She was fine, and I don't follow her no more because I try to work on my lust. But she had put on her story from Netflix. What the Health? It's a documentary. And the girl I was talking to at the time, I told her to watch it because she was talking about her health and things of that nature. And she watched it. She was like, "Are you gonna watch it?" Because she stopped eating or whatever. And I took about 2, 3 weeks before I watched it. And after I watched the documentary, I was good. Like I said, I was still in Hoover, so I had my last meal at Sharks. I remember what I had. It was chicken tenders. It was so good, and some French fries. and
Nice.
and the food that I had, like I literally just went to grocery shopping too. So I went in the kitchen. My sister came home from work. I was like, "Hey, you see the stuff in the freezer? You got it." She's like, "You sure?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And it wasn't just that I did switch and I didn't know all of what I was doing, but I what I did while I was eating the poultry and seafood, I started making my side portions bigger, like my rice and beans. If you do brown rice and black beans, that's a complete meal if you have the right amount. And my salads, they became bigger. So when I dropped all of the meat, and then December 2017, I dropped dairy too. So that was the vegan part. But when the size got bigger, and I would say I was definitely amateur when I started. But now I'm not an expert, but I don't lose weight. I can gain weight. I lift 6 days a week. So the eating has been really good as far as clearing my body and my mind. I can definitely feel a difference. Joints don't hurt as much. It's beautiful.
Man, that's amazing, man, that you made those life changes, those life altering changes. And man, I
Yeah.
watched that documentary too back in 2017
Mm.
and I saw how cow milk was yeah. I'll
Man.
leave that alone. I saw
It was really, it was really the eggs though.
yeah, the eggs and
And how
the
the pigs were like watching each other die. I was like, all right,
yeah, the
that's
pigs
kind of
and
crazy.
I gave up the swine in 2011, but I still
Okay,
eat chicken and turkey and beef occasionally. But
for
watching that
sure.
documentary, man,
It
I,
make you
I
think.
man, it had me thinking. I will say this though, I quit buying animal milk after that. Like I started buying
Okay.
almond milk and oat milk because Dave, check this out, man. I don't know if you ever paid attention to this. Humans are the only species that drink other species.
Yes. It's crazy. It's super crazy.
And yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy.
it's mind blowing to think about it. We grew up being told milk is good for the body, it's good for the
Good
bone.
for your bones. I always talk to people about this all the time. 90%, 90 to 95% of people that look like you and I are
Mhm.
lactose intolerant. Most of us go to public schools. We were in public schools eating pizza, tater tots, and chocolate milk.
Right,
Your stomach is going to like is literally
right,
killing you, you know.
right. And then they wonder why we couldn't focus, we couldn't think straight in school because we we,
Right,
we got all this doggone dairy,
right.
dog. I mean, and of course you know this. What you eat, it has a direct effect on how you feel, how you think, how
Exactly.
everything
And
maneuvers,
what
man.
comes off out of you, like
Mm-hmm.
passing gas and your pheromones and stuff of that
Mm-hmm.
nature. It
For
has an effect
sure.
on your glands, for sure, for sure.
So,
I got to say one more thing
go
about the
ahead, go
diet,
ahead, go
well,
ahead.
changing the diet thing. Um, a few years ago, my mother started changing her diet just from my example. I never pushed it to her
Mhm.
or nothing. So she's lost, I can't remember her total, but I asked her yesterday. She said from well, not yesterday, but I just was in South Carolina a week ago, and I was like, "Hey, mom, how much weight have you lost?" She said from last July to now, it was like a year and some change. She's lost 22 pounds, and this is no weightlifting. She just walks. Now she walks a lot, like I'm talking this morning. I talked to her. She walked 4 miles, and then she was gonna walk some more later. I was like, okay, but just seeing like when people say you can't change, you can't teach your old dog new tricks. I'm like, yes, you can. She's literally changing like and you have to do things in process too. You can't just drop everything. Like she
Mhm.
dropped the first thing she did was drop white sugar, and she said, "Oh, I was like a junkie." It's like, man, that's real. Because some people wouldn't say it like that because they don't want to feel shame. But you had to call a spade with yourself. And when you're honest with yourself, you can do anything. And she did drop the chicken and the beef. Now she just does like shrimp or some fish occasionally, but her inflammation in her knees isn't as bad. She doesn't do coffee anymore. She does like mushroom tea. So she's like it's like a rewiring, and it's a beautiful thing. It's crazy to see because it's like, man, that's like I feel like I'm raising you now, but it's crazy
That's amazing, man. Much respect to mom for making them
for sure.
changes and losing 22 pounds. Like that's a big deal. Like because, like you said, to your point, you a lot of our elders they look at us as young folks that don't know what we're talking about. But it's
Yeah,
dope that you didn't. For real. Like I mean, like
I
that's
know
how it
it.
goes. Like that's how they view us. But it's dope that you said you didn't force your lifestyle upon her. You just moved. You kept moving as you are. And eventually she said, you know what? She probably said, I'm not going to speak for her, but she probably said, I see my son Dave moving in a certain way. I see him doing his yoga. I see him glowing. I'm seeing him shining. I want to just make some changes in my life so I can see if those changes make a difference. And you said inflammation is gone. I'm sure she feels like $1 million now that she
Oh
made those
yeah,
changes. That's amazing, bro. That's dope.
sure. Shout them off.
Yes, sir. Much respect. So, what all exactly do you do with Higher Co? I know yoga is a part of it, and I know you mentioned
Yeah.
farming. Is there anything else you got going on?
No, just yoga and farming. So the yoga is broken down like private sessions, private group sessions, private one-on-one sessions, private group sessions, and just the classes that I'll do. I'll throw events, or I'll be a part of events, or I'll throw events, or just the classes that I do at the park on Tuesday and Thursdays. Those are just $10 just to get people into getting them aware and just having it to be done. There aren't as many yoga teachers that are like public in the city like that. So I try to, or not public, but promote themselves as much. There's Breezeville, shout out to Breeze, and there's Vandaloop. But I know a lot of people, especially people that look like us, they want somebody that look like us. And I'm him. I don't like saying it like that, how people say it, but it's pointed to me because even when I try to slow down, people like, hey man, what's happened? What you got going on? What you doing? And I'm like, man, I literally can't stop. Cause if I stop, I feel like I'm a servant of God. So if God people need something done, and also I make sure I use discernment to I don't get played. If God people need something done and I'm the person to do it and I'm qualified and God gave me the power and the strength to do so, I'm gonna do it. So the idea for having a studio is coming soon, but right now I just wanted to perfect my craft as far as me as a teacher. That's been doing well as the past few years. So one-on-one, group, and events. And then as far as the farming side, I'll be deviating and keeping higher just on the yoga side. But as for right now, before I open that new LLC, the farming side was during 2020, right? As the day I found out we were doing quarantine, I was doing DoorDash and I got a notification about it. And the same little voice that told me to stop to change how I eat, it was like, hey, you know you don't eat like everybody else. So you need to go ahead and go to Walmart and go to Lowe's and get some pots, pans, get some pots, seed, dirt, and figure this out. I've never done any gardening in my life. And I was successful and I was so super excited. You know, we didn't have nothing else to do. So I
Right.
was really into it, like so immersed into it, and I was loving it every day. And now this is my fourth year of like growing food. I would say probably the second year of being a full on farmer, and it's been very rewarding. The garden that I work in is on the west side, right behind Lanier, and just being able to be a part of the community is cool because, like I said, I'm from the east, so I don't live like how a lot of them live, or what they might have to hear at night, or what they might see in the daytime. But I'm accepted because of the work that I do, and they know that I'm genuine with what I do and how I speak. And the big farm, that's like a G14 classified, but that's gonna be able to provide even more, especially in the coming spring. So Hire is pretty much yoga and farming. That's what God told me to do. And funny thing is, okay, so in 2020, February 2020, I got certified. Yeah, Black History Month for my yoga cert. I was like, that's pretty black. And
Mhm.
then the next month I started farming, and sometime last year I was like, man, 2020 was probably the best year of my life because my purpose was given to me in the darkest time ever. Because as soon as I wanted to start teaching yoga, everything shut down, and I was like, dang, what I'm supposed to do? So my first yoga class was on Juneteenth at Shakespeare, and I had a really good turnout. So I be wanting to stop and slow down with attendance is low, but I just got to keep going because it pays off. That's why I record, because the recordings that's infinite. So
Right.
yoga and form.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's dope, man. Appreciate you breaking down what you got going on and just like you said, being obedient to what God was telling you during those dark times. Start
Precisely.
forming, and you said you never done it before, and that's the dope thing about life, man. And you realize this as you get older. Just because you haven't done it before doesn't mean you can't figure it out, and you figured it out. And we always be. Let me stop saying, yeah, we as in Black people, as in our culture,
Mm-hmm.
we are always a lot of us accept societal norms that are placed on us. A lot of us
Mm-hmm.
think if we didn't go to school for it, I can't do it. Like I didn't go to school for
Mm-hmm.
agriculture, I can't do it. Here's a fun fact. I didn't go to school for radio or TV, but guess what? I went to school for tech, but I'm doing a podcast because, like you said, when the voice speaks to you, when God, Jehovah,
Yahweh,
Buddha,
whatever you might say.
Yahweh, whatever God, whoever is your guy, and I don't judge. You do
For
what you do.
sure.
Whatever you do is what you do. But when those voices speak to you, Dave, it's real. It ain't play. Like and
Right.
and a lot of people wouldn't be obedient. So the fact that you were obedient and you kept going and keep doing those classes, man. Keep showing up
Oh
because
yeah, for sure.
the dope thing about it, Dave, you don't know which one is gonna be the one that makes you a household name. And it might be the one you cancel. The one that you cancel may be the
Man,
very one.
it's funny you say that. I really be thinking that sometimes. That's why,
Mhm.
like, whenever I do, like, when something is small and it's just like the past, maybe two times, it's probably just me and my lady out there, and maybe one or two people will pop up, and I'll tell her. She might look at me, she's like, "You still gonna?" I'm like, sometimes I'll cancel one, but then sometimes I'll be like, "Man, I'm gonna still doing it. I'm gonna be consistent because I know what I'm supposed to do.
Sure.
I gotta do it." And then, like I said, I can record it. The YouTube channel is doing okay, but as far as monetizing the streams and the videos, that's coming real soon because I can package these deals and give somebody something that's not here. exactly what they need for their day. Some people, and this is what I learned with yoga too. I've had people sub my yoga classes because I used to be the main and only teacher at Crunch Fitness on the Boulevard for a minute. And if I had a sub and they weren't close to me or similar to how I taught, people was not feeling it. Like that's just not. And it's like, they, you need to not ever leave, or you need to do try to find somebody else because that's not it. But it's just they like me for what it is. You know, they bought into me, not just necessarily the yoga. So I try to make sure that they buy into the yoga. So if I can get them to buy into me, I can get them and get into it as much as I can, if possible.
Yes, sir.
Try other
That's
yoga teachers, people. Try other yoga teachers. It's okay.
yes, sir. That's amazing. And just keep showing up, man. Like that's really what it's all about. Staying consistent, keep
For
showing up.
sure.
And the thing is, you don't know which class gonna be the one that makes your household name, and you canceling that one that may take you from where you are to where you desire to be. And
Mhm.
man, it's and this coming from somebody who is in the same boat as you. I'm up and coming. Like the podcast isn't a household name yet, but I keep showing
Yeah,
up and I keep having these conversations
exactly.
because I know eventually it will be. Because I'm telling you, man, and I'm sure you can attest to this. Man, it's something magical happens when you stay consistent, man. It really does.
That's a fact, bro. I'll say this because you
Mhm.
know this from how we pledged, and we ain't got to go super deep into that, but things were similar. So I can say this: I always tell people, you know, they have sayings of, you know, it takes 21 days to make a habit. I'm like, I can tell people, bro. I know from experience from my because I went through it and I brought some people through. Do something in 90 days. 90 days gonna always show you. 3 months gonna always give you that like if you consistently doing something, you a machine after a while. Like how we had to recite stuff or how we had to come up with something and like always be alert, like it's always just ready. Like I credit the bros for giving me a lot of my discipline. Even though I had a lot anyway, it took things to another level, especially as I got older and realized I don't have to do a lot of crazy stuff. So okay, this ain't nothing.
For sure. I mean, and exactly, and like just even that chapter in my life, to your point, just learning those different principles that you can apply now. It's really those principles that you learn from the bros. You can apply those even present day, just in terms of just staying the
Facts.
course, staying disciplined, and like you said, in 90 days, man, you can build a habit. You can in any
You
department
could
of your life,
change
whether it
something.
be health, yeah, whether it be your health, whether it be your mindset, your finances. And it's great that you still apply those same principles, man. So let's delve into just how Hire Co came about. Whenever I have entrepreneurs on the platform, I like to talk about three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. You've already pretty much given us a great insight into your aha moment, which sparked the idea to come up with the company. Let's talk about action. After you had your aha moment, how long did it take you to take action towards coming up with a logo, a name, an LLC?
I don't think it took long for the logo because I still draw. And another thing that I was doing in myself learning self journey, I went back to being all right. What did Lil Dave like to do? I used to
Mm-hmm.
like to draw, so I was drawing, and a lot of the inspiration came from friends. We were trying to do a lot of this together. Things fell out. We didn't all fall out, but the just doing business didn't work. But the logo didn't come long because I was being creative, just doing whatever it is I was doing. And I believe the idea came in maybe April or May of 2016, and it became official 2016 of June 24th, 2016. Yeah, the LLC became active then, still active. And then you said what was the other one? Audacity.
Oh yeah, and that last portion, audacity. So it's one thing to have an idea; it's another thing to act on it. It's a whole different thing to put that idea to the world, out to the world, to be
Mhm.
praised or criticized. Who or what gave you the courage, that audacity to not only go for it, but to put it out to the world?
A lot of it was myself. I'll give credit to the person I was dating at the time. She was very helpful and beneficial because she was the best model that I had at the time because she was working out, but then when I started changing up how she was working out and changing her routine and program, the results are in, and
Mhm.
they were very pleasing to the eyes of a lot of people on Instagram and stuff like that.
but she held, but the push really, I ain't gonna lie, the push came from being broke, man. I couldn't, and I did, and I realized, just like I said, the people that I brought up, the videos that I used to watch on YouTube, like, you're not gonna be rich working for someone else. You don't, even if you work in another job, which is like I always tell people, there's nothing wrong with doing it. You can also put your money to the side and have it working for you. That's another thing. So like I didn't, that was another thing. Even as a little kid, I never wanted to, I've always wanted to be my own boss. What was that? I didn't know. I had to figure it out. Thought it was going to be a sports agent. It changed. Now he's a farmer and a yogi. It worked out how the Most High needed it. Not maybe not how I wanted it, but how the Most High needed it, and I'm forever grateful.
Sure, man, that's dope. Like right now, you living the childhood dream is being lived now, and like you
Mm,
said, it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. But guess what, Dave? It never does. Our plans, God hears our plans and laughs at them and be like, "Watch this." God gonna
every time.
always take you through because He want to see if
If you really
God
want it,
God want to see if you really about that life. You say you
facts.
want to be this, that, and the third. God gonna take you through the ringer real quick, and
I
He
was
gonna
not
take you.
about that lawyer life.
Hey,
I'm telling
he gonna take you through a process. He gonna take you through some things. He gonna,
facts.
and one thing about it, once he take you through those twists and turns, those times where you feel like, man, I don't have I don't have another day in me of trying to figure this thing out. Just the day that you keep going when you want to give up, man, something magical happens, man. Like you get an epiphany, you get your second win. So yeah, man, like your plans gonna all man, God gonna always take our plans and laugh at them because our plans is think about it. Our plans is man, when I grow up, I'm gonna go to the NFL. I'm gonna make millions
Man,
of dollars, and our plan is always so straightforward and cookie cutter. Nah,
I'm
man, it don't
telling
work
you.
like that. So
I was
it's
supposed to
dope
be 6'8" in the NBA right now.
for sure. And I'm supposed to be in the league in the NFL making millions of dollars, but guess what? I mean, God said, "Hey, I'm gonna put you in a situation to make millions of dollars, but you ain't gonna have to get CTE to get it. You just gonna."
Man, hey, you better say that for real. That's real, bro. I be thinking about that sometimes. Like, what if I could really had got that growth spurt that I wanted? Like, I would telling people, I'll be looking up in the sky, and I'll be like, man, you was right, cause I've been able to, I was able to dunk when I was like 15. I'm 5'7" now. I was like 5'6" then. If I was 6'1" or like 6'3"
You'd
or
have been the
lower,
jerk,
yeah, like I wouldn't like. I can guarantee I probably would not have been shooting no jumpers. I'd
right?
try to dunk everything. Now I
Right,
was
for
a point
sure.
guard. I would have figured out other stuff, but I was not.
Right, for sure. So yeah, everything happened the way it's supposed to, man. So
For
that's dope.
sure.
What you got going on with Hire Co? I know you got great things coming down the pipeline. So let's talk about the next portion, vision. What are some of your short term and long term goals that you feel comfortable talking about for the company?
Okay. Short term goals, getting the streaming going for the online. Definitely getting that going. That's one thing. Streaming, just to have it available because I have half sessions on YouTube. There's a few long sessions that I've had from like years prior, but I'm starting doing half sessions on YouTube because you gotta pay for my flows. And that's one thing, the streaming. The second thing would be more events. So I just did an event for, she's going to coin it, but Black Women's Rest Retreat. It was in Eclectic, Alabama. It was right off of Lake Martin. It was a dope experience. Leading a group of Black women, it was like 10 women. They were a lot, most of them entrepreneurs. They were like from New York and New Jersey, some of them from down here, but they were they're in a soft season. That's where the women at now, which I understand completely. So I was just like, all right, well, let me help in this situation to help with this. And then I was like, I'm gonna give some game when needed. And I did, and I think a lot of people took heed. Hopefully they took heed. So streaming and events, and that's pretty, those are the two main things really. And retreats, like super retreats, like as far as out of the country, that'll be hopefully sometime next year or 2025. But the streaming and events, retreats, whether they're like in the state or in the region, those are the things.
Okay. Hey, those are some great goals, both short term and long term. And I have no
Sure.
doubt you'll make them all come to fruition.
Oh, we're already in motion. I promise.
For sure. Yes, sir. As we wrap up the podcast, I want to ask $1 million question. I started this podcast to highlight the greatness connected to the city, whether you were born here, lived here for a significant period of your life, be it college, military, or work. You being a hometown hero, Dave. What makes you the most proud to be from the Gump?
Was proud. There's a lot of firsts that are here that some people don't know about, or they're not, the world don't know, but we know and we take pride in it. But we move with that energy when people find out, we're like, oh yeah, just like how people find out, like, dang, Montgomery got hands like that. Yeah, okay. So one of the first is when I first moved back to the city in 2017. I was like, you can't tell. I told myself, you can't tell people you're from Montgomery and you don't know any of the city's history. So I would go downtown and walk around and read the plaques. One of the plaques that I read was about the rail cars that we used to have, or the rail cars. Montgomery was the first city in the Western Hemisphere that had electric car. I didn't learn that in NPS. Did you?
No, I didn't.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, okay, why don't we have trains anymore? That's a whole nother topic. But I'm like, okay, if some energy was innovated here of that, I can use that. And another first, Nat King Cole was the first black man with a TV show.
Hey, you just gave me some more game I didn't know about.
You
That's
know what I'm
dope.
saying? Like this was the first, like he was the first one, and that he has that mural downtown. He's not dark enough in that. That's another conversation. But I'm like, bro, that's huge. I'm like, this. I'm like, okay, Hank Williams. I get people like him and all of that, but I'm like, bro, he needs to have something. And a small one. Well, people know it now because of Drunk History, but Claudette Colvin, she was the first one that said no. Now, a lot of people in the city know that, and the world don't know that until they probably watch Drunk History or come here and someone tells them. But I take pride in that because my mentor, Mr. Johnson, he has a shoe repair shop on Atlanta Highway. He knows that lady.
Mm.
So the stories aren't so far removed. And I'm like, man, if they were the first to do something, or they just had the guts to, like, just go about and just do something, even in a place that some people may not see it as, man, it's just Montgomery. It's just a small country town, even though it's a capital. No, we still doing something. You gotta respect it some. Cause like, what's the dude's name? He lived in my neighborhood. I didn't know him. He's older than me, but Jewels, he wrote Who Cloned Tyrone. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
That's some crazy, like that's crazy, bro. Like
Yeah.
he lived, like somebody told me where his house was, and I'm like, fam, he lived down the street from one of my partners.
Yeah.
So like stuff like that, it's like, man, it can come from anywhere, and we got a lot of energy and a lot of heat. So that's why I wanted to do the podcast, because it's just a timing thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not always gonna be the fighting, but it's gonna be a timing when somebody's like, man, Montgomery got something to say, just like the South do. I mean, we still got something to say. We ain't never stopped. It's just got a little quiet, but we getting back loud.
For sure, man. Yeah, you're right. To your point, man, Montgomery, just the city itself, very historical. A lot of great things have come out of the city. A lot of great things are brewing in the city right now. Like, we're bigger than just the brawl down at the riverboat. We got a lot of greatness coming up out of the city, like
Exactly.
yourself and others who doing the entrepreneurial thing, doing the thing,
Mm.
man, like rewriting history, because, man, this city is a beautiful city. It's rich with history. And it's a lot. It's just something about it's something about the bloodline of the people who look like you and I that come up in
Yeah,
this city, man. So that's powerful stuff. So
that's a
Dave, how
fact.
can the people connect with you? What are your social media handles and website?
And you can get that at the website www.hyyer.co, hire.co. Everything Hire Co on Instagram and YouTube, HYYERCO, and TikTok as well. Everything all one word on TikTok and Instagram. Just put a space between Hire and Co on YouTube. Run the views up, send it to a friend, send it to your auntie. She needs this. She needs to open her hips up. She need to release a lot of pent up energies that she has. Send this to your uncle. His back is hurting. Send him a flow of it don't have to be long. A lot of my videos are short for attention span purposes anyway. So
Oh
that's
man.
that's what it is. I appreciate you.
Oh man, yes sir. Too easy. And of course, I'll put all the information in the description of the episode. Hey Dave, man, thanks again for the conversation. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Doug. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All
Good
right.
people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Gone. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.